Okay, Peter, well, I wanted to talk today about quite an emotive subject, obviously the closure of gyms in Liverpool and the ongoing saga thereof that's kind of spun out of control. And hopefully people watching this will find it relevant because it seems to be overtaken by events. Because as we record this, we've just heard that Wales has gone into full lockdown. So we're obviously wondering if Boris is going to trigger a full lockdown here, which is going to kind of make this argument redundant. But just to recap, obviously, on Monday of last week, Liverpool was put into tier 3, the highest level of lockdown. As part of that, all gyms across Merseyside had to shut. That was the order given. And a couple of gyms came out and said, well, actually, in fact, there was as an alliance of gyms, there were 70 gyms. And they were led by kind of Empowered Fit on the Wirral, who said, we are not going to shut. They were all independent gyms. Pure Gym, for example, the gym chains did shut, but said they were going to legally challenge this order. But the independent gyms said they were going to stay open. The reasoning given for them staying open, and it was very comprehensive, was that we now have data. During the first lockdown, everybody said, we have to shut, we have to stop this virus spreading, we don't know much about it, we don't know how deadly it is, and we don't really know much about transmission, so shut. Everybody did that. And all these gyms in Merseyside complied with that lockdown. This lockdown, now they've been coming into tier 3, is more confusing. There is data, and the data seems to say that transmission rates in gyms are very, very low. UK Active published a study that said they figured there'd been 0.34 transmissions per 100,000 gym users, which is incredibly low when you compare that figure to, by the same statistics, 9.6 for restaurants, 36 for schools. Obviously, schools are more vital than gyms. Nobody's arguing they're not. Are restaurants more vital than gyms? That's an argument to have. So the gym said that the good of them staying open, i.e. the mental health and physical health benefits to their members and the community organisations that they are, far outweighed the minimal risk. So they said that they're gonna stay open. They were immediately challenged on this. Armed police turned up at Empowered Fitness on the first day, on the Wednesday, sorry, when they were supposed to shut. It was announced on the Monday they would shut. On the Wednesday they were ordered to shut. They'd already said they wouldn't shut. 2 hours into their opening, armed police, 7 armed police turned up to deliver them a fine. So you must shut. Here's a £1,000 fine. We'll be back in another couple of hours and we'll deliver you a £2,000 fine, and so on. So immediately the reaction to this was quite vociferous. They crowdfunded. At the moment, I think they've got over £50,000 raised to pay the fines of these gyms on Merseyside that are being shut. And you just can't help, or I can't help, I know I've got a very vested interest here, but you can't help feeling a huge amount of sympathy for them. And we did put up a post immediately saying, we have massive sympathy. We stand with the gyms in Liverpool, because basically, I don't think they're part of the problem. I think gyms are part of the solution. We need to be physically fit and active, and that probably outweighs the transmission risk, which seems to be apparent in gyms from the data that we've got. And also, they did have a major point about the mental health of their members, the community spirit that can be engendered in gyms. Obviously, they've taken mitigation measures, as we have, to keep social distance, to keep hand sanitisation, to increase cleaning and so on. So you have to do all these things, increase ventilation, and you do all these things and you mitigate. So it did seem terribly unfair that they were being shut down. And I really agreed with them. And also, there was a bit of confusion over who gave the order for them to shut down, because apparently the government said you don't necessarily have to shut the gyms in tier 3. That's a local decision, not a national decision. And then the local mayor of Merseyside said, well, I didn't order the gyms to shut. And the government, Michael Gove, was saying, well, we didn't order the gyms to shut. Well, who did then? So between the two of them, we're getting this constant pass in the buck. Then, to compound the problem, they put Lancashire into a tier 3 lockdown. And Lancashire negotiated that the gyms were allowed to stay open. So how does that work? You're shut down in Merseyside. Incidentally, Empowered Fit is on the Wirral. And the Wirral has a lower COVID incidence per 100,000 than, say, Exeter. But because Exeter has a big spike, and Exeter is within the broader region, has a lower COVID transmission rate, Exeter gyms don't have to shut down. They're in tier 1. But the gyms on the Wirral in tier 3 have to shut down. The gyms in Lancashire in tier 3 don't have to shut down. So it just seemed to fall apart before our eyes, the logic that the government said they were introducing, in the sense that they were saying this is going to be a simplified system. We seemed immediately to end up with tier 3A and tier 3B, and no real sort of, we're constantly told we must follow the science, we must follow the data. Well, now we have data, now we have science, which seems to say that gyms are not a risk, or at the very least, a very, very minimal risk, and a much lower risk than, say, restaurants and other things that are being allowed to stay open. So, you know, I fundamentally agreed with the status of the guys in Liverpool and what they were doing and what they were trying to do. Very sympathetic. And, you know, overall, I think their argument stacks up. They're following the data, they're following the science, which we've been told is so necessary. You can't just shut these guys down with a sledgehammer for no apparent logical reason and then change your mind as to whether you're going to apply the rules differently in another area where they're supposedly in the same lockdown. So, you know, I'm 100% up behind these guys, and they're still fighting and battling for it. I mean, one interesting thing as well that's come out of this from following all the social media statements and everything that's happened is that immediately there was a big kickback against this tier 3 lockdown and a big general kickback. There's been demonstrations. I've just come back from London. There was a big demonstration on Saturday in Trafalgar Square. There were demonstrations in Liverpool. There are demonstrations all over the country against these social, you know, these individual and social liberty restrictions. But Empowered Fit on the Wirral said, don't take part in these demonstrations. Don't go to these demonstrations on behalf, you know, of gyms. What we're trying to do is put a logical, science-based reasoning as to why we must stay open. And if everybody goes out and protests, and if it gets out of control, everybody gets tarred with the same brush, and we're back to square one. You know, and people say, well, we must sort of not lock these people down. So they really were trying to stick with their, look, here's the data, here's the science, let's negotiate. You know, so, and here we are. But again, like I say, we may get overtaken by events, but I have to say, in answer to the question that's posed, and given all the data and given all the reasons, the rationale, I think, yes, it's important to keep the gyms open. They do provide a very essential service. The only reason gyms should be shut, I think, is if there's a complete lockdown, and this will only be a complete lockdown if, again, the data demands that is done, and I don't think it does at the moment. So that's where we are, Peter. I'm with the gyms in Liverpool. We stand with you, and you know, we hope we can get some recognition for this, and those guys can stay open and get those fines rescinded. And now, Peter, we're going to play a few clips direct from the guys in Liverpool to hear the words from their own mouth.
What's up, guys? I'm assuming most of you will already know. Boris has announced in the last 60 minutes that all gyms and leisure centres across Merseyside are to close from Wednesday this week. We will not be closing our doors. We can't. If we close our facility to 4 to 6 months, we won't have one to come back to. You will not have a gym to come back to. There will be no business, there will be no gym, there will be no jobs. It's unfortunate that it's come to this, but it's quite clear that the Mayor of Liverpool and everybody else involved have got absolutely no say whatsoever in what happens. We're standing side by side with a lot of other local gyms, both on the Wirral and in Liverpool. Fia and Chris at Empowered, our closest neighbours. Nathan over the water at Prophecy. We are going to stay clean, we are going to stay vigilant, but we are staying open. Whether we get anywhere positive with it is anyone's guess, but I'll be honest. If we take this lying down now and in a year's time there's no business left and no gym, I'll kick myself for not trying. So if we get fined, we get fined. If we get arrested, we get arrested, but we're going to attempt to fight this. Manchester have fought some of their restrictions and been successful. What the best way to go about this is, I'm not entirely sure. We're open to suggestions from anybody, but we will be keeping our doors open. I'll put some more information in the description of this video as to our reasoning, but we ask you all, please stand with us on this, unite together. All the other gym owners, please, we need as many of you as possible to have this overturned. We are safe, the stats are there, gyms are safe, we are not the problem, we are not the risk. And the potential health ramifications for our members, given that we should close for 4 to 6 months, are absolutely huge. Please stand with us. We have just received our first £1,000 fine at Bodytech. After meeting with the police yesterday, they told us we'd get warning first day, and a second warning, £100 fine, £200 fine, and so on. They were with us this morning, gave us our warning, come back this afternoon, orders from their top boss, issue a fine straight away. So they've told us close immediately or take £1,000 fine. And obviously we still had quite a lot of members training. I said to the officers, listen, I'm not asking anybody to leave. Even if I am, I'm going to let them finish their sessions first. So they've issued the fine. First one's 1,000. They can come back in 3 hours, issue 2,000. 3 hours after that, 4,000. It's disappointing. They sent out 7 or 8 firearms officers. What a waste of resources. It's just fucking nuts, guys. It really is. It's nuts. One of the guys has set up a GoFundMe page to try and tackle some of these fines. I'll put it in the link in this video and in the website section on my Instagram bio. Some good news. We had good press this morning. We had Sky on site. We had BBC, ITV, Channel 4. We've had tons of support. As you've all seen all over social media, we've had tons and tons of support. We had a Zoom call today with the CEO of David Lloyd's. They're backing us. Pure Gym are backing us. The petition's got over 100,000, so we are going to be heard in Parliament, guys. Like, we're so close. I feel like we're only a day or two away. We potentially got a Zoom call with the Mayor of Wirral this afternoon. Well, he has taken a few hours to get back with us with what time he wants to do it. We're close. We're close, and we need to keep fighting, and we need you guys to keep supporting us. Please, now more than ever, keep sharing the data. Keep fighting the good fight. Gyms need to stay open. Ireland have gone into complete lockdown and they've kept gyms open as one of the only things that they've left open in the whole of the country, because they know how important it is. They know how vital it is to our physical and mental health. We need this. We need you guys. Please stand together. Please keep sharing. Please support us. Fingers crossed this madness ends by the end of the week.